To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What is it about Disney that makes us happy? Is it the magical whistle as your ticket is scanned at the main gate? Is it the seafaring smell of pirate water? Or is it charting a course to a land where you may never grow up? Whether it's singing a familiar song, watching a movie, or riding your favorite attraction for the 100th time, Disney undeniably has a way to warm our hearts, believe in magic, and bring joy into our lives. This is Main Gate Magic, a podcast where we break down and discuss the infectious happiness, delight, and thrill of all things Disney. Good evening and welcome everybody to another wonderful episode of Main Gate Magic. I am your host, Mr. Jason Braden, and with me I have tonight the lovely Lisa Braden, my wonderful wife. How you doing, baby?
Hey everybody, I'm good. Good.
And we also have Miss Leia joining us in the bottom right corner. How you doing, Leia?
I'm doing wonderful. Hi.
Great. We are very excited tonight, folks. If you see smiles on our faces, it's because we have a wonderful special guest here joining us this evening. In the lower left corner, representing the voice of Pocahontas herself, our very first Disney princess on the show, Miss Irene Bedard. Welcome, Irene.
Oh. I love the Tinkerbell at beginning.
It's a lot of magic in that video. That's kind of what we try to promote here is putting that magic out into the world. And we try to keep everything positive, and we try to keep everything upbeat and family friendly, because there's just not a lot of it out in the world. So we try to put some smiles on people's faces.
Well, that's why we're magic, aren't we?
Exactly. We are Main Gate Magic. It's that feeling when you walk in the park for the first time. It's like, oh, I'm here. I'm home. Yeah. So thanks again so much for being here. It's very awesome for you to take some time out of your day for us. We only go like about an hour usually. It goes by so quickly though. So if we go a little bit over, I hope you're okay with that. We didn't talk about that obviously, but we'll try to keep it to an hour as close as possible. But before I actually get into the questions, I wanted to just kind of say hello to our fans that are in the chat room right now. And for those who are in there that did not say hello or are curious, the chat room is open. So if you guys would like to say hello to Irene or us, and you have a question for Irene or us, please be sure to drop it in the chat. I'll be moderating and putting it up on the screen as we go along. We have Eurasian Scopes Owl. I'm sure that's a YouTube name. It says, hello, everybody. I'm sure that's probably not their real name, but welcome to the show. It's good to see you. This is Mr. Odie Braden. My father says, good evening, youngsters. And I'm going to reply back with a good evening, old man.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to say good evening, Dad.
Yeah, there you go. And Eurasian says, I've been looking forward to this. So have we. This is very exciting. And I can't remember if I said it or not, but this is our season 1 finale. So, I mean, talk about saving the best for last. It's so awesome. And then our number one fan, or our other number one fan, as my dad called it, I think a couple episodes ago, Patricia is here. Thanks for joining us,
Hi,
Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
Alrighty. So now that we've said hello, if anybody wants to drop a chat in, please be free to do so. I'm going to give some quick facts about the movie, then we're going to dive into the questions. So the movie was released in June 23rd of 1995, run hour time of 1 hour and 21 minutes, excuse me. Was actually a 2-time Oscar winner. I didn't know this until I looked it up yesterday for the best song, Colors of the Wind, and the best musical score. It estimated budget was $55 million to make. On opening weekend, it made $2.6 million with a worldwide gross of $336 million. So they made up for that. That's well done. The cast, obviously, we have Irene Bedard as the voice of Pocahontas, and the singing voice of Pocahontas was Judy Kuhn. We've got other cast of characters, Billy Connolly as Ben, Linda Hunt as Grandmother Willow, and David Ogden Stiers as the evil Ratcliffe. Boo! And then, Irene, this is not the first time that you've played Pocahontas in your career. You've actually had quite a few roles as Pocahontas and also her mother. Is that correct?
Right. Well, this was the first time as Pocahontas. That's true.
Yes.
And then there was Pocahontas 2. And then Terrence Malick's New World, which was when I played Pocahontas's mother,
Yes.
who they, for all of the knowledge, she was Powhatan's great daughter, the princess. He was a leader of a confederacy of tribes that went all along the eastern seaboard. And she it sounds to me like she did not, her mother probably died in childbirth or when she was very young. So she did, in True World, in New World, she was in the spirit world. That's what I meant to try to say.
Okay.
Got it.
I don't think I knew that. I've not seen that one, but I know that was like a live action film, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Terrence Malick
So,
directed. And then, of course,
go
Ralph
ahead.
Breaks the Internet.
Yes, of course, Ralph Breaks the Internet. And I've got a whole list of, I think, all the different ones you played, including Ralph Breaks the Internet. But there was also Making the Magic of Disneyland Paris. It had you. These are the accolades that you have in IMDb. I don't know if they sampled stuff from the movie or if you actually did other recordings for them, but there was an animated storybook, a video game, of course, the sequel, Pocahontas 2, Journey into a New World, something for the House of Mouse. Is that correct? Yeah. You talked about the New World already. Another video game that they were saying is called The Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. I don't know if that was a Disney one, though.
That I think it was. There have been quite a few events between then and there. I'm pretty sure it was. It might also be something outside of that. So
yeah, it kind of seemed like it was, and I'm only I didn't dive too deep into it, but it was only because of the artwork on the cover that they showed. It did not look Disney at all. It was like knockoff Disney, so that's why I was like, that's a little like gray area, and I'm not sure if they were like just kind of building off of it, because you know how when Disney comes out with an amazing movie, somebody else makes another production that goes straight to video that's not called Pocahontas, it's called like the Indian Princess or something like that.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah, they try to.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was one of those kind of situations. So.
Well, the way I put it as well is there are so many memories between then and now.
I bet.
And a lot of different projects. So it seems like a Disney name, though, doesn't it?
I mean, they use the word Magic Kingdom, so yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. And it's crazy that if it's not a Disney thing, then how did they get away with using the word Magic Kingdom in there?
Who knows?
So, speaking of memories, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, as far as like, where you're from? Did you go to school for acting? How did you get into drama, theater, anything like that? Give us a little bit of background on you.
Well, I'm born and raised in Alaska. My mom was a Nupiaq and Yupik, and my father got stationed up there in Anchorage, and he was Métis Cree. And I went to initially study physics and philosophy at Mansfield University, and then received my Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I had always done, I wrote plays starting when I was like 10 years old. I was the oldest child and the oldest grandchild, and it was a good way for me to know where everyone was, because they were on X marks the spot and they're going to walk through that door right at this moment. But I think it was a way for me to get to really go inside different worlds, different places, see through the eyes of someone else in a way. And especially for a shy person, it was a way to kind of put myself in situations that I could only imagine. And so that's why doing animation is so much fun for me, because it's all about the imagination. My first movie was a Disney movie called Squanto, A Warrior's Tale, and it's very visceral. Like, we were on the ocean, we were, um, around those fires, um, and it was very visceral. Let's just put it that way. In relation to even doing theater, I always loved that idea uh, of being able to put on a show and have that, that energy that goes between you and an audience. I always loved to sing. I was in the Anchorage Civic Opera and the Anchorage Community Theater, and the all the different choirs that I was also uh, you know doing that when I was studying physics and philosophy. I was in the children's theater ensemble and the vocal jazz ensemble. It was something that just really got me in a way that I just didn't feel in regular life. Let's just put it that way. And it truly is that magical thing. And when you're doing theater, there's that what they call you're basically dropping your suspension of disbelief. That's what it's referred to as. So you're dropping your you're getting to go in this world, but it's on stage, right? When you're doing features and television, you have so much of it worked out for you there. Doing animation is all in your imagination, and you're working with other people who only work from this imaginative kind of childlike spot. And so we're just trying all kinds of things. And we did for 2.5 years from scratch tracks while I was filming Lakota Woman, Siege of Wounded Knee, to the very last recording session I did 2.5 years later, which I did every 6 to 8 weeks for that duration. Where all I had to do was change the word path to way, because Pocahontas had said path one too many times. But we did whole entire storylines that we would work through, that we would kind of try out. We tried out because Pocahontas in real life was probably only about 11 or 12 years old when she met John Smith and then threw herself upon him and stopped a war from happening. She was a child. And
wow.
I walked in and said, isn't that a great idea? I mean, can we just go with that? Because, a child stopping a war from happening, that's an amazing thing. I mean,
that's incredible.
To have
incredible.
Kids around the world. And they were very interested in that part of it. Like, that was kind of and as it's shown in the movie, this wonderful, dramatic, high end of the film when she does stop this war from happening. That's what it's all culminating to. But I think, it being the times that they also wanted to ensure that romance was going to be in there. So, there was a little magic.
Yeah, they added
It's a
little
different
bit
kind of magic. Yeah.
Irene, do you remember one of the stories that you wrote, like one of your creative scripts? Do you remember any of them?
Oh, when I started?
Yeah.
At 10 years old, you mean?
Yeah, any of your stories. Do you remember what
why
you
not?
wrote about?
I did one that was all around different Halloween characters, the witches and the vampires.
Okay.
I mean, it was all real simple things like that. But when I was at the University of the Arts, that was what my big thing that I wanted to do was to do playwriting. And so I had written a couple while I was at the University of the Arts, and had one that was co-written with other Native people, Indigenous people in New York City. We had started a Native American theater ensemble, and we performed in the Spirit at Joseph Papp Public Theater, Circle in the Square, just all over New York City and beyond. And that actually is where my first agent came upon me, was at one of those performances. And
Amazing.
yeah.
Is that what led you to the role of getting Pocahontas for Disney?
Well, like I said, I mean, it wasn't even in my wheelhouse of thought to be doing film and television. I was just, my big dream was to study with Jerzy Grotowski ritual theater, because that's what I grew up with. That's my life growing up was, going to these very presentational ceremonies and dances that tell a story, that have different characters, that have masks and drums and music. And so, for instance, Hene Gigama, who I've known since Lakota Woman Siege Wounded Knee, and he also was one of the advisors on Pocahontas, the Native American advisor, one of the advisors. And he was able to kind of show me from very early on that this was something that we could, that was possible to do, that I really just wasn't even in my wheelhouse of thought. And I wanted to work with him with his Native American dance theater. He was doing a ceremony for Mother Earth. He's somebody I've looked up to for a long time as well.
Now, you mentioned that I think you mentioned that you have other siblings. How many of them are in your family, and are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest. Yeah, I'm the oldest, and I had a sister and my two younger brothers. Yes.
Are
and then
any
I
of
have
them?
I have 6 brothers and sisters that are older for me from my father's previous marriage.
Oh, wow. Big blended
Big
family.
family.
Yeah.
Yes. Are any of them, including the ones from the other marriage, are any of them into acting as well, or do they do other things?
No, I mean, I come from a lot of military family. I have both my brothers have military backgrounds, or defense backgrounds. It's part of the reason why I didn't continue to pursue the physics, because I realized that my name means peace. She's the goddess of peace, Irene. And a lot of the jobs that you get when you are in that field are in defense. And so I'm the artist.
Yeah.
There's one, I think, in almost every family, but we have multiple ones in our family. I think we've got
we do.
artists, we've got music, like drawing, painting artists, we've got musicians, we've got actors.
My son wants to go into these fields, so I'm
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
That's great.
How old is your son?
He's 21.
20? Oh, wow. Watch out.
He's a looker.
I remember.
He's very talented, and that's not just from a mother's love. He's definitely very talented, and
Okay.
I can't wait to see what he does.
Does he listen to his mom, though? Is he good about listening to his mom's advice?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't listen to my mom's advice when I was young about that kind of stuff. She's like, "Oh, you should get into like acting and drama and do like improv classes and stuff like that." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to do." But I was very, like I think you said, very shy, very introverted when I was younger. Yeah, it took me getting into my adult years and, having a full-time job and really experiencing life before I got to where I could be now, and just comfortable with talking to people and just comfortable being in my own skin, for that matter.
Yeah.
It takes some experience to do that, I think.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Irene, I actually have a question. Like, the way that you were saying this, I kind of like feel like it might be a little the same. So I was very shy as well, but I like to watch like psychology and people. And my way to express myself was getting into theater. And because I could put on a mask as an actor and accurately portray it, it's like that's when I would come alive. But when I'd get off stage, I'd clam up again.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like I came alive on stage, but then I would become Leia again off stage. And it's like that's when
Mhm.
but acting, it was like my outlet. It was so fun to do the best I could at portraying a certain character I wrote about. Because yeah.
Doing the research, learning that,
Yeah.
it's like every time I go and do a film or whatever project it is, whether it's producing or acting or directing, I get to learn about a whole new subset of things that I, never had the chance to get to know. Like, I have something that's coming out where I'm speaking Eastern Shawnee, and
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Do you know it fluently?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I've spoken, and I said Shawnee, Cheyenne,
Ah,
but I've spoken Lakota, Dene. I finally got to play my own tribe, and to
Oh,
me, it's wonderful to be able to kind of go to the various places, and because we
yeah.
have 576 federally recognized tribes now.
wow.
There are more than that aren't federally recognized, and that's just in the United States. That doesn't include Canada or South America or Mexico.
Right.
That's incredible.
And
I had no
there are
idea.
400 million indigenous people worldwide. But yeah, I think to me it's getting to go and explore. Like you're an explorer of a kind, you're
Oh,
exploring humankind, and you're getting to tell stories, and you want to be able to tell those stories to the best
yeah.
of your ability.
Like give
And
it justice.
yeah,
Like the best. Yeah, give them a voice, whoever
yeah,
you're. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Irene, what tribe are you? You said Cree? Is that
Inupiaq, Yupik on my mother's side, and Métis Cree on my father's side. Yeah.
okay? Is that from Alaska? Or is that
My dad was born and raised in Skowhegan, Maine, but his father and mother, she was Cree, and his father was French Canadian. They came from the Quebec, Ontario area. So, I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, the Ontario, Quebec, the Cree are kind of run all over the middle of North America. So Wyoming,
okay?
Montana, um, yeah,
The beautiful mountainous areas was
yeah.
beautiful areas.
Our owl friend is saying, "Hey Irene, I've been a fan of your film roles around a year now. Smoke Signals was awesome. They say 10 out of 10. Only downside is that it wasn't longer."
Oh, we did a film called Hey Victor, which is the kind of meta sequel to it. It's a comedy for sure. It's fun.
They also say just something about that film was so nostalgic to me, and I don't know why.
Oh
I've
yeah,
not seen it myself.
yeah.
I think
It,
I watched it when it came out
oh wow.
many years
Um,
ago. Yeah.
it was Chris Eyre, and it was the first directed, produced, written. Most of the cast, Native Indigenous cast, and it's in the Library of Congress now. So
Oh wow.
inducted in the 30th year then. But
So
but yeah, and also just to your point as well, like shy, uh, born shy. I was painfully shy, honestly. I was that little girl with the glasses that sat at the front of the class and did everything the teacher said, and and so having to go out in front of 110,000 people in Central Park for the premiere was just
yeah. I mean, even
yeah.
though I'm more of an extrovert nowadays than I was back then, that's still intimidating. And I know that there's other people out there that say that even like that are performers or actors, and they say that when they get up there, they are still nervous. They always have stage fright. Like it just never goes
Mhm.
away.
No, it
So,
doesn't. Yeah.
but I mean, I can imagine if you've got that many eyes on you all at once. It's different when you're behind a camera because you're just performing in front of the crew, I guess. But
Yeah.
and then of course as a voice actor, you're just doing it in front of the crew or just in front of a microphone, depending on where you're recording, and it's a little easier because you don't have as many people watching you all at
I
once.
love
I
that about
think
voice acting. Yeah.
So do
I think
I.
that's probably the most comfortable that I feel is in voice acting. Because you do always get another take, but you really don't want to have to try to do a bazillion takes if you
Right.
don't have to. So you just have to be able to do everything perfect and do it on your mark for 30 seconds. Anything that they
Right.
want you to do, you just have to do it perfectly for however long the take takes.
Bigger crew, more tight schedule. I can completely imagine. I mean,
Yeah, and you're like realizing, oh, just the sound stage is like whatever, tens of $1,000 an hour. Just
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
100 people working on jobs, waiting, all eyes on you.
Oh, I can imagine the pressure. And you just hope your voice doesn't break after so many takes and sound different
Yeah.
from the other
And
parts.
in Smoke Signals, though, it taught me because I definitely have this perfectionist streak. That so it was a wing and a prayer. We did it on Evan Adams, who played Thomas, builds the fire. His break from medical school because he's a doctor now, but he. So we did it in 25 days on a wing and a prayer budget, and we had, 3 takes. And that, it's like
Yeah.
we got the master, and then you might have 2, but 3 takes tops, right? So I would do the 2 takes, and then Chris would say, "Now you just do the Irene take," right? So it's like, oh, okay. But I had this one monologue, and in the monologue, I'm, telling this story about, the Victor's father, because she's sort of that spiritual tie to him and what he was like after he had left him. And I'm doing this. I went up, which that's our term for saying, I don't know what my next line is. And I just looked up at the heavens. It was a starry night. And I just said, please, just give me the next line, please. And then it came back to me. And then I went just right into it, right? When I look back and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, oh, because we were shooting on film and film's expensive and we only have so much film.
Right.
Pre-digital.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. Well, that's the take that's in the movie. And that moment of looking up at the stars and waiting that brief second until the line came to me was the best moment in the monologue, I thought. So,
Oh my God.
we're all perfect in our imperfections,
Right.
Oh,
I want
I
to
love
watch that
that.
now and like watch for that part. It'd be like,
Right.
oh, that's what happened
They
there.
kept it. They kept it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really quick, there's another question in the chat, and I'll get to it in just a moment here. But I wanted to ask, how old were you when you recorded for the voice of Pocahontas?
24 to 27, I think.
24 to wow, it took 3 years for them to
Two and a
make the
half
movie.
years. Yeah.
2.5 years. Wow, I don't think I knew that. I did. Now, that
I
wasn't in my
didn't know
fun
that.
facts. Bad host. And then the other question I was going to ask you was, you seem to have like obviously a lot of knowledge about your, about your culture and your heritage and things like that. Did you have that information going into this role, or did you have to study for it, or was it just something that was like already like in you, like you already knew that information?
Well, I mean, I think growing up, our father instilled in us, to do research. He loved books. He loved science. He loved, if we found and had an interest in anything, he would make sure that he would do what he could to, find or expose us to all those things. But if you see any pictures of me, like we might be fishing, true, like everybody might be fishing, but I might be holding a pole and holding a book at the same time. So I mean, but that's part of the fun for me, as far as working on projects, is delving into the research. And so, and then, but for all of us, I mean, we all knew that there were Native Americans at the first Thanksgiving. We all might have heard about the piece of Pocahontas, and maybe, you know, the Trail of Tears might have been brought up a little bit later on I mean, it wasn't in my generation, but I did do a history for kids, U.S. history for kids. And when we talked about the Trail of Tears, and then, you know, you hear about Custer and Sitting Bull, but it just, the in-depth history of the tapestry of 100 million indigenous peoples with all these different languages and drums and stories and, you know, ceremonies and songs and languages, was something that I had to learn, just, you know, and actually come to set with that set of facts in my pocket, because I also knew that it wasn't necessarily, especially when I started, you know, toward the beginning, it wasn't necessarily always true that they were going to know the exact. You might, like, let's say you might find something that would only be found in the Lakota tribes, but, you know, here we're representing the Navajo tribes of a certain age. Now, once the boarding school systems and everything happened, and the reservation systems, and there was a lot of or integrating of the indigenous cultures, then you might see a lot more of that. But previous to the 1860s per se, there was a lot of trade that did happen. So, but then you might have to have a knowledge of those trade routes. Like, well, that might have been found here, but this is why it would have been found, right? So, yeah, I realized that I was not only just going in as an actor, but I'd have to, a lot of times, even find my own translators, find my songs that would go with the representation of the tribal peoples that are there, which is, you know what, those were all the groundwork that I gained, my learning curve that turned me into being a good producer of indigenous stories. So, you know, it helped me to know that I was going to set, not only as an actor, but as a teacher and an ambassador, and an arbiter of the culture, because I want to be able to tell these women's stories correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Needs to be done. Yeah. That's like an honor. Yeah.
Speaking of culture and history, our friend the owl, I'm just going to keep calling this person because I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're, you know, how you identify. I'm just going to say my friend the owl. I want you to ask you about Disney's Brother Bear, which I did like. Good movie, great soundtrack. As a lot of that movie is loosely based on Native Alaskan culture, and I don't remember that much of it, but I'm going to go with what they're saying. While developing the film, did Disney contact you for ideas / cultural perspective or for voice acting? And have you seen the film, and what did you think about it? That's a lot, I know, but
Right.
Let's start off with, did you see the movie?
I did. I did a long while ago, and I believe it was, as I mentioned, I mean, my first film was a Disney movie called Squanto, A Warrior's Tale, and I started filming that in 1993. And then 1994, I filmed Lakota Woman's Siege of Wounded Knee. Oh no, that was also 93. And then And then 93 is when I began my first recording session of Disney's Pocahontas. So
Nobody ever contacted you for
I
Brother
think
Bear?
Brother Bear was previous to when I was even on the landscape.
I'm looking at it now. The Brother Bear was it was released in 2003.
Oh,
So it was a
okay.
little bit after that.
So
Yeah,
it was.
okay.
Oh, I know why. Okay, why I'm thinking it's previous to me. It's because my son was born in 2003, and it was previous to him being born. Yes.
You were a little busy around that time.
Yeah. But
Understandable. But nobody ever contacted you to say, "Hey, Irene, you know a lot about Alaska. Can we talk to you about this kind of stuff?"
no,
Or is
as
it?
I mentioned, I did Alaska Daily for ABC, and that's the very first time in um, dozens and dozens and dozens of projects that I've actually gotten to portray my own tribe.
Oh, nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Beautiful.
All right. So when you were recording for the movie, the original movie Pocahontas, the animated movie, I heard that you never actually met any of the actors. Was that true, or did you only meet certain ones?
No, I met everyone at the premiere, with the exception of Mel Gibson, who played John
That's what we
Smith.
heard, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of heard about that. But I'm talking about like actually in the recording studio. Did you record with anybody?
I got to walk in passing with Linda Hunt and
Oh,
also David Augenstiers. And I did one recording session with Russell Means, and he had been recording for some bit of time, I think. And I think they wanted just a little more life to happen in their interactions. So
Who's Russell? Which character was
Russell
he?
Means her father, Father Powhatan.
Oh, Powhatan.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. He was the leader of the American Indian movement as well.
so I know that in a recording studio, you're not really like we were talking about earlier. You got a little bit more time. There's no film that they have to do, but I mean, I know that there is time. Did you ever face any particular challenges being Pocahontas? I mean, did it feel like those were big shoes to fill? Was there ever any butterflies in the stomach at any point where you're like, I don't know if I can do this? And tell us what your process was through the whole thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything that can prepare anyone for the whirlwind of the premieres. And it was also the same year that I was nominated for the Golden Globe and People
Hmm.
magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People. And I mean,
I saw that.
on every Entertainment Tonight, to all the international coverage, to every major city in America, and then Europe and Asia. um, I couldn't walk anywhere when I was in New York City. They had to send a police escort to pick me and my brothers. And I mean, there's nothing that can prepare a person for any of that.
Right.
It's a
Let's
lot.
just put it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I'm sorry. What was the question?
No, you answered it perfectly.
I
The
even got
question was just
overwhelmed talking about it.
no. It was like did you have any struggle? Actually, the question was more, did you have any struggles as with the role at any point? Like with finding her voice, or I mean, I'm assuming the voice was mostly just your voice, and just knowing like how big the role was at the time. I mean, I know that the stardom after the fact is what you were kind of referring to, but during the
Yeah.
recording, did you have any sort of like, oh, this is too much or anything like that, or did it just kind of feel natural for you?
Well, I mean, no, because it really didn't even hit me until that, oh, the first movie I did is a Disney movie, right? Because it was like gritty. That was how we were out there.
Yeah.
After doing the first scratch track recording session while I was out in South Dakota, then my next first session, I had met Mike and Eric and Mike Gabriel and Eric Goldberg. Uh, but might have been more people there. but we had so much fun. I mean, it was just me
Oh, that's
going
good.
in with a recording, with, doing the thing and just playing. My cheeks hurt. We laughed so much. I gave each other, we all had hugs afterwards.
I
And
love
it
that.
wasn't until getting to the Buena Vista studios and like them sending the car to pick me up and, oh, Miss Bedard, you're, going through the Buena Vista gates and then you're going to be, they need to drop you off at, I don't remember, just Mickey Mouse Way, and you're going to the Goofy studio. And I'm like, where it just hit me what a part of the legacy of it is, and that um, this was like I grew up loving Disney, and when we only had 4 stations, this was long ago.
Yes.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now I got another question for you. Now that you said that, it's going to tie into one of the questions I already sent you from earlier. But I know you said you were a big Disney fan then. Are you still a big Disney fan? And more importantly, because you just said the line you did, are you a Star Wars fan as well?
Oh yes. Oh
All
yes.
right.
Very much so.
Yes.
Come from a Star Wars loving family.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite? Do you have a tell me what your favorite movie is of the trilogies? I'll say, because
Oh,
there
I
was 4,
know.
5, and 6. Then there was 1, 2, and 3. Then there
I
was 7, 8, and
know.
9.
I
So,
mean,
do you have a
the
favorite?
the first is just has such a place in my heart because
A
it,
New Hope. Okay.
yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was my my childhood. So and and then of course just waiting for the next one and the next one to come, and then you know you really have to love The Mandalorian, and I mean it's
It's
just
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the movie that they're making for it too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
me
I
too.
am.
I'm super excited. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do what they did in the series near the last season that was made, because they integrated a lot of like Boba Fett stuff in there, and it kind of
Oh,
drifted away for a little while. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother episode.
I've been growing up. What was your favorite Disney movie
oh,
or favorites?
I know.
It's tough.
Pollyanna.
Oh
Um,
wow, nice.
Freaky
Oh,
Friday.
Yes.
that's a fun one.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Why
How
is the
about
name of it?
animated?
Oh, animated. Hmm. Well, I remember growing up loving Bambi, but then every
Oh,
time it would show again, I'd remember going, but I don't like it,
Yeah.
Yeah, the
so
mom
sad.
dies. And
Yeah. And
yeah.
same with Dumbo too. Like, I love it so much. No.
they're both
But
tough watches without crying. I mean,
I
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
know.
Disney has a
Yeah.
way of tugging at your heartstrings in pretty much every movie that they make.
But always a favorite for me is Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, very
Yeah.
That's one of
nice.
mine.
Have you
Yeah.
ever met Jim
Yeah.
Cummings?
Yes. Yes, I
Yes,
have.
I'm sure you have, in the circles of your
Mhm.
autograph signings and your conventions and stuff like that and everything. I actually met him for the first time a few weeks ago. He was at a convention here in Concord, and got to say hello and chat with him a little bit too. I think he's got his own podcast too, so
Yeah,
I'd
he
love to get him
started
on
it.
someday.
What did
Yeah.
you
But
guys think of Christopher Robin? I thought that was one of the most beautiful new Disney movies that
Oh.
came out. With
loved Christopher
really,
Robin.
like, it just
Yeah.
it became an instant favorite. How
Mhm.
Yes.
Pooh Bear was real and the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
Pocahontas came out, they set up this kind of tour where I would just go to a mall, and then they would had whatever, as many people as showed up. I would sign autographs, and that'd be like, it was the summer, and people that just with the line would go around the outside, through the mall and outside the mall, and people were
Yep.
standing in the heat, and kids would finally, do all that patience and waiting and legs hurting, and the moms too, the parents too, and they would get up and burst into tears. And so I carried around a big fluffy Winnie the Pooh with me everywhere I went. And I had Tigger and Piglet, and I'm like, oh, you don't like Winnie the Pooh or tears? And so it was usually like one of them was gonna, change their little heads, and
That's so sweet.
and get a smile on their faces, and so they
And
just
see, not
it holds a dear thing for my heart.
yeah, and not everybody. I mean,
So
I've
awesome.
been to conventions before. Not everybody does that kind of stuff
No.
for the fans, and I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that for the most part, they're there because they love it. They
Mhm.
interact with the fans. They love just talking to people, meeting people, seeing smiles on their faces, seeing how excited they get and everything. But that's taking it up a level. I really love that.
Yeah,
Hell,
I
I
mean,
thought it
'cause
was
it's like you're saying, I'm just like you. I'm a Disney fan too. Like, I'm not
yeah,
just this. It
totally.
brings you down to a human level. Like, some
Mhm.
people don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Disney, since this is a Disney show, do you ever get to go to the parks very often? Are you a park goer?
I have been in the past. I went last Christmas and did the New Year's countdown
Oh
last
wow,
year.
nice.
And as soon as my little nephew comes back, that's going to be happening again. Whenever that might be, I might just have to fly him down here so we can. He turned 6 when he was here in January.
Ooh,
Well,
The funny.
they live in Wasilla, Alaska, so it's a big
that's a
deal. to me.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a distance.
So we're gonna make that trek to Disneyland.
You
Yeah,
should,
that has
yeah.
to happen.
Because that's, I mean, aside from the magic that we experience when we go to parks through our own eyes, I love seeing the magic through other people's eyes when they're going either for the first time or even for a repeat visit where they're like, oh, I haven't been in like 5 years, and so much has changed, and they're just in amazement and wonderment, and they are seeing the magic, and you see it through their eyes, and it's get all the warm and fuzzies inside just thinking about it. Have you been at the
Well,
parks in Florida before?
yes, yeah. I actually did the Walt Disney World had when it had they had the premiere there for Pocahontas.
Oh,
We buried a time capsule because we did the parade with Pocahontas on the one of the cars and around to the Chinese Man Theater there, and I put my hands and got the star and the whole thing, and
yeah.
we buried a time capsule, and we were supposed to open it, but hopefully maybe it'll be for the 30th, but it was the 25th, and I don't even remember what was in it or what we put in it.
Oh, wow.
I've kind of sent this message out because I'm like, hey,
Is this going to happen?
it was 2020 and we were all having a little problems getting around that year.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So now the 2025. Woo!
That's a monumental. It's a good number, 25.
Mhm.
Irene, I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to ask really quickly, was it actually buried at Disney World, like under the ground in the concrete or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, don't remember what I put in the time capsule.
Yeah.
Second off, like I said, too many memories between then and now.
Gotcha.
And second off, I doubt we actually physically buried it. I think it was something that, here's the stuff we're putting in the time capsule.
Yeah, they probably just threw it in a safe
And
somewhere.
yeah,
or
and
something.
we're gonna take it out.
More
Yeah.
for safekeeping. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Irene, I was wondering, with Pocahontas, if there's one thing, like, if you felt like a heart to heart with her that you have the most in common with Pocahontas and like who she was in the Disney movie, like what would you have the most in common with her?
Curiosity and wanting uh, wanting to, well, like I said, my name, Irene, means peace. And the reason that Pocahontas did make it into our history books was because of the peace of Pocahontas.
Yeah.
And so really what it is that I connected with her wanting to form and make connections rather than, building bridges rather than burning them,
I love that. My favorite quote of the whole movie was at the very end when she says, "This is where the path of war has brought us. This is
Mhm,
the path I choose. What will yours be?" And
mhm,
just her strength to stand up against hundreds of people that were
mhm.
angry, and she had peace and compassion in her heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did some digging, so to speak, for the time capsule. I don't know if this is the same one that you're talking about, but there was an article that was written on April 24th, 2023, where they dug up a time capsule that was actually buried by cast members at Disney Animal Kingdom 25 years prior. And it doesn't sound like the same one that you're talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you the items that were in there just to kind of make us all feel old. The time capsule was full of opening day memories, including opening days of the Animal Kingdom, that is, including floppy disks
Oh,
that
Oh,
had photos
wow.
on it. Yeah. VHS videotapes of new cast member orientation sessions, a collection of day one merchandise, park maps, paper tickets, and a shirt signed by the cast members and more. So, I mean,
no.
that kind of gives you a time frame reference that floppy disks is what kind
The
of blew my
floppy
mind
disk.
Yeah.
there. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my
Floppy
God.
disks.
I know.
Ooh.
That's
People
crazy.
today don't understand the struggle of saving your documents and like your writing material.
Right. Everything's in the
Yeah.
cloud now. There's no like
Mhm.
It's
physical
automatic.
copies anymore. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's like
Um,
save.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, we're already getting to the end of our show here. We've only got a few minutes left. So, oh wait, here's my dad's asking a question here. What is your favorite berry? He says it's a strange question, he knows, but wondered if as a child you gathered berries.
Yes, salmon berries. So those
Salmon
are
berries.
salmon
Oh,
berries, blueberries. We had a blueberry heaven that we would go to a lot of times, and there would be fresh, steaming bear
yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard
signs.
of those.
Yeah.
We have blackberries, lowbush, cranberries. Um, yeah, when people ask what my favorite foods are, I'm like salmon and berries.
Salmon and
You know,
berries.
we're
Oh.
salmon
Nice.
eating people, and yes, I love going berry picking.
So, we've talked a lot about your past. What about your present? Is there anything that you're doing right now that you want to plug or talk about? Things that I know I obviously don't want to ask any questions about stuff that you've done NDAs with, but if there's any current shows that are out there now that you want to promote or just say, hey, I'm in this and that.
Let's see. Because it's like, boy, this has been a busy couple of years. I have American Primeval coming out on Netflix.
Oh,
It's Peter Berg, and I have. Um, oh my goodness, why is my mind is just going? I co-executive produced with John Leguizamo a 6-part limited series called The Green Veil. Um,
I've heard
it's
about that one.
well,
That's a
yeah,
new one out now, right?
yeah. It's on a new streaming platform called The Network, and it's a kind of a throwback in a way of like wanting to try to bring that connection together again. It used to be that with those 4 channels, those aforementioned 4 channels, that people the whole of America got together to watch the last episode of MASH, or
Right.
it was really much that where people would go in at work and have conversations about General Hospital or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
People knew what everybody was talking about, and
Right.
yeah.
and even if they didn't there was a sense of cohesiveness in our entertainment world, and
Used to be.
well, and maybe in all of our worlds, in some ways. And I think that this is that kind of nod to it, the network is. And so it's every, they want to have the drama night, the comedy night, the dropping episodes as opposed to like, oh, the whole thing's out there. And
Yeah.
and trying to get people back together to let's get there with the popcorn and sit there and watch our we're going to go watch our show.
Right.
So, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
think people
awesome.
were happier back then. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I saw you also did some other voice acting for like Avatar, The Last Airbender.
I was actually, that's live action.
Oh, that was the live action one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, it's a TV series.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
I've heard of the animated one, but I didn't know there was an actual TV series for that.
Yes.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting. Now I know people that would probably know that there was a TV series for it. They'd be like,
Oh,
"You haven't seen it? You have to
Believe
see
me,
it."
yes. Yes.
All right. Well, we're actually at the end of our hour. I'm gonna go ahead and probably give it a close there and just say again, Irene, thank you so much for
Yes.
closing out our first season of this fun little
Yay.
podcast. Yes, it's been a great pleasure to have you here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share all this information with us. It was an honor.
Okay.
Irene, I
Thank
actually have
you.
one more special question for you.
Oh, we still got
Okay.
one more question. Go for it.
I saw an interview with you, and it was a number of years ago, and I thought it was so beautiful. You said that you thought one of the biggest points of living was to learn and to share your wisdom with people from what you've gathered.
Mhm.
What would be something that you've learned throughout life that you think would be a really good message for people to know, like from what you've learned throughout life?
Well, this life is a gift given to us to learn. And in the realm of the infinite, we're just infinitesimal. And when people say it goes by so fast, what it is not isn't is wanting to make the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. But you're taking that time to be here in this moment, to savor your dinner around with family and friends and look each other in the eyes and have experiences. We can have all kinds of things, but we take our experiences with us as we go through life. We can't always take every little thing we own as we're walking through our lifetime. And then, of course, as they say, you can't take it with you. But I like to, and also to remember that we are of a long chain of ancestors that loved and loved and loved and loved and loved, and there you are in that chain, and that then you're part of this chain of humanity that continues on, and that what you do today affects the coming generations.
My
in
dad
so
says
many
when
ways.
when you stop, never stop.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I tell everybody I'm going to live forever, but I think it's not just a matter of the experiences and like you said, savoring every moment, but I also
Being
think
in the
that
present.
people need to share those moments as well and make other people's moments happy at the same time. If you can reach that one person that, just that brightens their day a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I feel like is missing in humanity nowadays, and the reason why everybody's just so into themselves. And I know that it's probably been like this for a long time, but we have media out there where we see all these bad things happening and we are just poisoned by all the negativity out there. But
Yeah.
I think sharing the good stuff and sharing the magic is definitely a key to brightening up the world. It's more of it's needed. We need to bring it out.
Remember to find peace, breathe, find joy, and laugh a little.
Yeah.
And love often. My mom used to love
And
that
love,
saying.
love,
Yes.
love. Yes.
Spread your
before
own
we-
version of sunshine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Before we sign off, Mr. John Morris is on and he says hello. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hi, John.
Sorry we missed you. I'm glad you made it for the end of it. So, all right. I think we're good. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic season so far. We've had a lot of amazing guests, Irene included. So we will be back again in January. I don't know which Tuesday we'll be back, but keep your eyes open on our social media pages for Instagram and Facebook specifically for information about our upcoming shows, our upcoming guests, and if you have any questions or show suggestions, please let us know, because we're always open for information, and we'd love to talk about anything Disney and anything under the Disney sun, even Star Wars, Irene. So I hope we've made a fan of you on this one, and again want to thank you for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, make it yours, and have a great night, everybody.
Yep.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
What she said.
Love
Good night, folks.
Thank you.